Hey guys, what is going on? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here and welcome back to the Fragrance Well. It is good to be back. I've been away for a while, been quite a big break since the last time I uploaded a video. Matter of fact, let me take this time to go ahead and kind of give you guys a channel update. First of all, if you remember in that last video, I was a little bit under the weather. That did play a role into why I haven't been uploading videos. I actually felt a little bit worse a few days after that. So I wasn't able to do any more videos, but also I have just been very busy with my business ventures outside of the Fragrance Well. And I just have to be honest, sometimes they have to take precedent over this because they pay the bills more than this does. So if there's ever any breaks in me kind of uploading long form content, that is typically going to be the reason. I'm just so busy elsewhere that I've kind of fallen behind, or I can't stick to what the schedule that I like to stick to with this channel has, which was a video every other day. When I first started the channel, I wasn't that busy. I'm more busy now, and that's a good thing. I'm not complaining, but it does kind of hinder me from sticking to the schedule. So if there's a break in my videos, that's what's going on. Also, I'm gonna try to do more short form content to just kind of fill in those gaps. You've been seeing me upload more shorts lately if you've been following the channel. So that's just kind of a quick channel update. Now, on to the subject matter for today. Unique fragrances. I don't know about you, but I like fragrances that have something different from what more fragrances have, or at least takes it away from the masses, the more popular scent styles. Not to say that there's anything wrong with those. Matter of fact, I think there's some great ones that still stand out even with that. And also, just because the fragrance is unique, I still think it needs to be good. You can make a unique fragrance, but then if nobody likes it, who cares, right? These are fragrances that I think are likable, at least to an extent. Some of them you might consider a little bit challenging. Some of them might actually surprise you. They're going to be unique within my collection, or at least they have a uniqueness in terms of how they smelled compared to what preceded them in terms of fragrance releases. And I've got 8 of them here today, and we're going to talk about them right now. But before we do, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you do like the content, and hit that bell icon so you can most of the time be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and get it started. The first one's coming from the house of Nishane, and this is Sultan Vetiver. Nishane's Sultan Vetiver. So if you know anything about this fragrance, you know this is a vetiver lover's dream, and if you do not like vetiver fragrances, it's not going to be one for you. But there's quite a bit of stuff going on in here. There's a lot of dry florals, there's some spicy elements, there's this kind of cooling, boozy aspect coming from an absinthe note in the beginning, pairs very nicely with some bergamot, and you basically are getting vetiver in many forms. You're getting the woody side of it, you're getting the grassy side, you're getting the kind of smoky side of it. It's a very dry fragrance. If you like vetiver and you really like classy vetiver scents, this is a good one. I call this fragrance a vetiver scent made for kings. Now, it is very unique within my collection. I don't have anything in my collection that smells even close to this. It kind of has this somewhat vintage floral aspect to it. So I think if you've ever smelled any vintage floral fragrances, think like Chanel No. 5 or something like that, that has that old school floral mixing with absinthe, not absinthe, but mixing with aldehydes kind of smell to it. I think this kind of took a play from that and then did its own thing. So maybe the fragrance on its own is not that unique, but it's a unique fragrance in terms of what you might find in the marketplace. Not very many fragrances smell like this, and it is unique within my collection. So once again, from the house of Nishane, this is Sultan Vetiver. All right, guys, next one's coming from the house of Novitus Parfums, and we've got Divine Aphrodisiac. Novitus Parfums Divine Aphrodisiac. So this fragrance was creatively directed by Bowtie the Fragrance Guy. If you know anything about him, he loves gourmands, and this is certainly that. This is a 100% gourmand fragrance. It pretty much exclusively smells like food. Very interesting notes in here. Peanut butter accord, some sesame notes. The fragrance, in my mind, pretty much smells like a very fancy peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Now, I don't know about you, but I have yet to come across any fragrances that have that aspect to them. So if anybody knows of one that preceded this one, let me know. But yeah, I haven't come across any fragrances that smell like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I certainly don't have any fragrances in my collection that smell like that. So this fragrance is definitely unique. Yeah, I mean, come on, you know, a peanut butter accord, that's definitely not something that is very common in fragrances. You can find fragrances with sesame, but I would say not any fragrances that have as much sesame smell as this does. If you know anything about sesame oil in cooking, if you use too much of it, the entire dish, doesn't matter what else you're gonna put in it, is gonna taste like sesame oil. So that kind of, I think this fragrance kind of played on that. Now it doesn't just smell like that, but it kind of played on like maybe using too much sesame oil. But yeah, very unique fragrance. To be honest, it's not one I wear a ton, but it does have a very interesting smell to it. It is very pleasurable in the air and leaves a very nice sillage as well. So once again, from the house of Novitus Parfums, very unique fragrance. This is Divine Aphrodisiac. All right, guys, this next one is coming from the house of Day 3 Fragrances, and this is Ambar Dominicano. Day 3 Fragrances, Ambar Dominicano. So what makes this fragrance unique? It's more so unique in my cabinet, but the fragrance pretty much smells like rum and coke. I mean, that's kind of how I sum it up. It has some other elements to it. It has some spicy elements, some sweet elements, but overall, the vibe I get from this is rum and coke. And now that alone is not necessarily super unique to fragrances. There are other fragrances that play on that vibe. Matter of fact, I have Roja's Enigma / Creation E. That kind of has a similar vibe, but I would say the tobacco element makes it to where that's not the only thing I really think about with that fragrance. It kind of creeps into my mind, but it's honestly not my first thought when I smell it. I do get that cola vibe, but I don't think rum and coke. With this one, I do. This is a lovely fragrance from the house of Day 3 Fragrances, really good for this time of year. Features an accord of Mamajuana, which is a Dominican drink, which I actually am going to get a chance to try for myself next year because I'll be visiting the Dominican Republic very shortly on a cruise. But so I'm looking forward to, you know, actually tasting it and smelling it and comparing it to this fragrance. Maybe I'll drag this along just for that reason. But yeah, this is unique in my cabinet. When I got it, I was like, I thought it was going to actually smell very similar to La Tacita de Cafe, but it definitely is not the same. Similar lanes or similar uses, but it's not the same fragrance. Rum and coke fragrance right here. From the house of Day 3 Fragrances, once again, this is Ambar Dominicano. All right, guys, so the next one's coming from the house of Arabian Oud, and we have got Blue Oud. Arabian Oud, Blue Oud. So this one here is unique for the simple fact that it is basically just oud. There's like a musk accord in here as well, but you're pretty much getting two types of oud. What is it? I don't want to tell you wrong. Cambodian oud and Indian oud. And you're getting very good quality oud in this fragrance. You're not getting any of the imitation stuff or the fake stuff or the, you know, oud accord stuff. It's real oud oil in this. The price reflects that. But man, this fragrance is amazing. If you like oud, this is one I think you definitely should check out. I would say it's easily going to be one of the best just pure oud fragrances on the market without it being like a rose oud or a saffron oud or a spicy oud, tobacco oud. It's literally just oud. So that alone is going to be very unique. Not many fragrances on the market are going to give you that. And if they do, they may not necessarily give it to you at this quality standpoint. It's probably going to be mixed with other stuff. I could be wrong, but yeah, for me, definitely unique in my cabinet. I don't have any just pure oud fragrances other than this. I have the raw oil as well. And obviously there's not going to be a lot of fragrances on the market that give you just that. So once again, from the house of Arabian Oud, this is Blue Oud. All right, next one's coming from the house of Ambar Oud, and this is Lunar Vetiver. Ambar Oud, Lunar Vetiver. Now, if you've heard me talk about this and Sultan Vetiver, you've heard me say that they're similar in terms of it being a strong vetiver fragrance, but they don't smell alike. Where Sultan Vetiver is more like dried florals, this one's more kind of spice, aromatics mixing with the vetiver. And there's not as many variations of vetiver in this fragrance. This one I think is pretty much a grassy, woody vetiver, and that's kind of it. It's just a lot of it. And then you've got this mixture of other notes that makes the fragrance Very different from what you would consider to be an easy to wear vetiver fragrance. Now, I don't know if this scent DNA is necessarily unique in the marketplace or if anything came out before it that smells like it, but I do know I haven't smelled anything else like it, so it's unique to me, and it is unique in my fragrance collection because I don't have anything that quite has this scent DNA, so I love it for that reason, and it does smell good, and it is great quality, and also this fragrance here is beast mode for those of you who are interested. A couple of these I've talked about kind of have that aspect, but this fragrance here lasts all day long. You don't need a ton of sprays, so just FYI. But yeah, unique vetiver style fragrance within my collection and probably somewhat unique within the marketplace. I imagine there's not too many fragrances that quite smell like this. So once again, from the house of Ambar, this is Lunar Vetiver. All right, guys, next one's coming from the house of Guerlain, and this is L'Instant de Guerlain, and this is the Eau de Parfum concentration. L'Instant de Guerlain Eau de Parfum. So, when this first came out, I was not collecting fragrances. I was not into fragrances. Matter of fact, I was in high school, so I could not afford to buy fragrances when the original iteration of this came out, but I do know people that were around or were collecting or into fragrances at that time and got their hands on like the original bottle and all that stuff. They freaking rave about it. So I can't do a comparison, but what I can say is this bottle right here blows my mind just as much. I would consider it kind of a tea fragrance, has a chocolatey vibe to it, very spicy element to it. It kind of reminds me of a chai tea, really nice patchouli accords in this. I mean, the fragrance, it just smells fantastic to me. This is a 10 out of 10 fragrance for me. But moreover, as it pertains to the video, it's unique. I don't have anything in my cabinet that even comes close to smelling like this, nor have I experienced anything that smells like this that preceded it, which is probably why my mind was blown. I was like, hey, that's something new. Now, is there anything before this, if anybody knows, that might have had a similar scent profile to the original? I'm talking about when it first came out. Let me know, because honestly, I just wouldn't know. I'm here to learn just like most people are. But definitely a unique and wonderful scent from the house of Guerlain. So once again, this is L'Instant de Guerlain, and I have the Eau de Parfum concentration. All right, guys, so the next one's coming from the house of Francesca Bianchi, and this is Lost in Heaven. Francesca Bianchi's Lost in Heaven. Now, I'm pretty confident in saying that the scent style, scent DNA maybe, is definitely not going to be unique in terms of what preceded it. I imagine there was a number of fragrances that kind of had this, because I see the fragrance as kind of being an ode to that old school masculine scent profile. I think of fragrances like Corals when I smell this. It probably doesn't smell exactly like it, but it's kind of in that realm. But it is unique to my collection. This is a spicy, kind of powdery, somewhat woody, somewhat animalic fragrance. It's very dense and dusty, and like I said, it just kind of has that old school masculine vibe to it. I think it's kind of like a night out fragrance. That's kind of how I look at it. It would be a night out fragrance for a gentleman who's in his 40s and 50s. That's kind of how I view the fragrance. I really enjoy the way it smells. I like fragrances like that, but it's very unique compared to what I have in my collection to this date. Everything in my collection, nothing smells even close to this. But this fragrance is definitely not going to be for everybody, but it certainly packs a punch. So if you like strong fragrances, very spicy, very rich and dense powdery fragrances, somewhat animalic, this might be one worth checking out, because you can get it for a very good price as well. It is a 30 mil, but it is an extrait de parfum, and you don't need a ton of sprays. So unless you're wearing it every day, you probably won't blow through it. Once again, from the house of Francesca Bianchi, this is Lost in Heaven. All right, guys, and last but not least, from the house of Parfums de Marly, we have got Layton. Parfums de Marly's Layton. Now, if you consider the present day and time, you would say there's no way Layton is unique. There's tons of fragrances that either smell like it or completely cloned it. And therein lies my point. All those fragrances were either inspired by or direct copies of Layton, the original. When this first came out, as far as I know, there were no fragrances that really smelled like Layton. It was its own thing, and credit also to Parfums de Marly. Out of all the fragrances they have, this is one of the few that you can say is kind of their thing. There's no other fragrance that you can compare it to. A lot of fragrances they have, you can compare to other popular fragrances that preceded them. This one was their own baby, and it was very popular and it really worked for them. So that's why I'm calling the fragrance unique. But you know it well. Spicy, fresh, got cinnamon, got a little bit of a fruity vibe. Does kind of have that Vicks Vapor Rub kind of smell in the beginning, which some people just can't get past. But also has some lavender, a lot of vanilla. It's a crowd-pleasing scent. It's a great cool weather scent. Great for date nights, great for just whatever. It's a lot of people's favorite, and I get it because the fragrance just works for what it is. But yeah, the fragrance was, you know, the style of the fragrance wasn't necessarily unique, but the fragrance in and of itself was its own thing. So when it first came out, there was nothing quite like it, which is why it probably became so popular. So once again, from the House of Parfums de Marly, this is Layton. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Hey, let me know down in the comments below if anybody knows of any fragrances that preceded the ones that I listed today here as being unique when they came out. Please let me know because I would love to know about it. Also, just let me know what are some fragrances in your collection that you consider to be some of the most unique ones. I appreciate you guys watching all the way into the end. Remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.